Hi, I'm former CIA officer Jason Hansen.
I'm Danny Lane, Marine, cop, and bodyguard.
We want to welcome you to Spy Combat. We're going to learn tactics used by government operatives, federal agents, and more.
Techniques that are fast to learn, easy to comprehend, and effective in a real combat situation.
Welcome to Spy Combat. My name is Jason Hansen, and I'm a former CIA officer. Spy combat tactics are techniques based on proven scientific principles of attacks against the neurological, circulatory, respiratory, and energy pressure points of the human body. Techniques applied correctly to the soft targets of the human body can neutralize and incapacitate an attacker in just seconds. In this video series, you will learn techniques that are fast to learn, easy to comprehend, and effective in life-saving situations. Spy combat tactics are real techniques for real people in real-life situations. The great news is, you don't have to be in great shape or a trained martial artist to learn these principles and apply them. These techniques are designed for the average man, woman, teenagers, and even kids. I'd like to introduce you to the instructor of Spy Combat who I've asked to teach you these techniques today. His name is Danny Lane, and he is a Marine, cop, bodyguard, security expert, and martial artist with 48 years of experience. Danny is a master instructor in the Chuck Norris system, founded by world-renowned martial arts master and movie star Chuck Norris, and Danny has trained with him for 36 years. Danny has faced and survived real combat situations hundreds of times in the jungles of Vietnam and on the streets of America as a combat Marine, police officer, and security expert.
So the very first thing I'm going to teach you is what's called the warrior stance. That's used in the Marine Corps, which I'm a former Marine. And the warrior stance means it's very close to just a natural walking stance. If you're just walking around, generally most people when they walk, their feet are shoulder distance apart and they're very comfortable. Everything is centered. To drop to a warrior stance, all you have to do is bend your knees and put your hands up. Your feet are pointed 45-degree angles to the front. Your shoulders are 45-degree angles to the left side. Your hands are a little wider because what we want to do with this stance is to invite any attack that's coming to us down the center. This eliminates any possibilities that we have to go out here and engage it. We invite the technique to come down the center so we have both arms to defend with it. So coming back again, if you're just walking around or you're standing and an attack comes, you can just bend your knees and block to a certain area that the attack is coming from to defend. We want to teach you things that are spontaneous, things that you can react to naturally, and things that you can learn effectively very quickly. So once again, if I'm just walking along and a situation comes, I can just drop to my stance. My knees are bent, my heels are up just a little bit, my shoulders are at 45, and my hands are a little bit wider because I want to deal with everything coming down the center there. So when I open my hands, it keeps me relaxed, and I have more coverage, it keeps my elbows lower. So I have all this to block with in here in all the different areas of zones you're going to be blocking in. The first offensive weapon I'm going to teach you how to use is the back fist. I'm not going to teach you how to punch like a boxer first because you can break your wrist very easily. It takes a little bit of time to learn how to punch with your two knuckles, keep your wrist straight without breaking either your wrist bones or some of your hand bones. So I'm not going to teach you how to punch correctly till later on in your training. Once again, earlier I told you must relax in order to have speed. So if you're tense and rigid, you can't move. The only time you need to have any tension or muscle tension is at point of contact. That's when your fist clenches, that's when you create your muscle tension, and that's when you exhale. So the first thing we're going to do, if Richard was here and he started to move me, first of all, later on I'm going to talk to you about posturing and interviewing people where you're not susceptible to a sucker punch or some lead-off techniques. But if he's here and he starts to move forward, I can move forward. The jaw is an excellent point of reference. The temple, if you can reach it. or the side of the neck in the mastoid or vagus nerve or the carotid over in here. So the back of the fist is very effective at this range. I'm at the long range. I'm taking a step, and I'm throwing the back fist right there. Temple, jaw, side of the neck, or even the body. When you snap it back, you can do a double. We come in to dislodge them from their mental thought to us and getting those strikes there. So the back of fist is very important there. If I'm in this position, he approaches me from the rear, I can then hit it over the top. If I'm in this point here, I can come straight back over the top to the nose with it. So there's multiple uses for these weapons. Your weapons are like tools in a toolbox. There's multiple purposes for each one of the tools. And you learn how to use your tools in different ways to make them effective in any situation. If he started to throw the punch here, I can do the block and then hit with the back fist. It's one sequence. We already taught you how to zone block, and you counter right with the back fist. It sets up your power shots later. Generally, a lead-off technique is not a knockout type of blow unless you hit one of the vital areas or the pressure points, but it stuns the person so you can then follow up with your hips and your power shots. So multiple uses for the back fist from the long range, moving in. If I'm in here, straight over the top, from behind, over the top here, growing, shot like this. And I like to use the back fist here because the knuckles hit. Anytime I teach you to do something, you're hitting with bone. So you don't really have to have a lot of muscle tension. You can't really tense your bones, so you can stay relaxed because that increases the speed. So if I'm out here, I can use the step. From here, I'm using my lunge that I taught you earlier, straight in to hit him. If he starts to punch, I can move over here and hit him with a quick back fist. So you can angle this any way you want it to make it work. It's a very great weapon. The next technique we're going to work on is the palm heel. If Richard grabs me, double hand grab here, and I spread him out, if I trap his arm and push back with his chin, he's totally off balance. All I have to do is walk backwards and push him down, and he's on the ground. Of course, we could go to the ground and continue the fight at that point. So basically, the palm heel, grab again, please. What I did was just spread him out. I trapped here because I have to pull him forward as I push him back to break his balance, his center. I could step across and sweep, or I could just go straight back and push him down. If you go to the nose, it could be lethal for him. If you crush this cartilage back towards the brain, it's not advised to do that unless your life is in jeopardy and it's a serious situation. So the chin and the nose are two of your targets for the palm heel. Another thing we do, if we move inside, is I hit almost like a boxer's punch, but with the palm to the jaw. And this moves the person, and it sets up another technique later for us to strike. But we maneuver the person around. If I want to hit him here and get him into a choke, then I use my palm to move his neck around to get him into this motion. I can push him back. I'm using the palms. If I'm in here, I can shoot here. I can shoot here. I can shoot here. I can shoot in here to the groin with the palm. If I sneak up behind Richard or anyone, I can shoot it to the base of the spine, and I can get him into a come along or a choke and take him to the ground. So you shoot right straight here, and you're in tight for your position. The next technique is the knife hand. The knife hand is pretty much synonymous with karate. Karate means the art of the empty hand, and the knife hand is the most prevalent. I've learned over the years, 48 years I've been studying, the knife hand, this muscle between the little finger and wrist, after thousands and thousands of training my hand and hitting boards and bricks, my muscle never got any harder. And there's not a Nautilus machine or a weight machine that tightens that. So basically what I always use the bone portion just behind the wrist in this area here. By doing that, it leaves my hand available to trap the neck or his arms so forth. So the knife hand in traditional sense is like this in different areas. What I use is the forearm bone, and it leaves my hand loose so I can trap and get into my next move. So what we're going to do basically here is start. I'm going to have you come over here, Richard, this way. Just throw the right hook or slash here. If I move over here, one of the primary targets with the knife hand is you can come up this way and attack, and you get a reaction into the carotid artery, vagus nerve in this area. It's very hard when people are moving to pinpoint the temple. I usually don't go there. I usually go right side of the neck or straight down on the neck. I usually don't attack up in here. So this is called a knife hand chop right here. And what happens is when you throw it, the retraction is what creates the penetration. If I just hit it here, it's no good. If I go there and bring it back quick, the speed of the retracting creates the reaction to him. In a combination with that, if I go here, I can come bring it back to my chest and go straight into his windpipe at that point. So I have now a combination, a chop and a reverse chop all in one motion. 1, 2, which you can incapacitate somebody quickly right there. So we move to the side against his attack. We hit him with one shot, right back with a second shot. If you want a third shot, you get hit on this side of the neck. So you're basically using it just like you have a knife in your hand. You're going this way, then you're going to reverse this way. 1, 2, or 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, 2. So chop and reverse. This is a reverse center. If I'm out in here and he moves forward, I can go right straight into the neck immediately. If he approaches, boom, right there. That'll stop him right in their tracks. No matter how big and strong he is, his windpipe is just like everybody else's. So these are how you're neutralizing this a person here, one right there. Once you hit, then you're in, you have him with your other techniques. And we're going to teach you these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movements in sequence in the later series on how to take somebody out. You have to go till they're incapacitated. So if one shot does it, great. You may have to go 2, you may have to go 3, you may have to go 4 or 5. You can't overdo it, but at the same time, you can't underdo it either because you have to incapacitate them and escape without being hurt. Another technique for the chop, if he kind of comes up from behind, grabs me or something here, as I drop down to a stance, I come right back to the groin. Not sure if you can see it there or not. You don't really even have to have it as a knife hand. It grabs, striking here, right back to the groin. Another use, close combat, is once I snake the head down, I hit it right on the back of the neck. You see that in a lot of James Bond movies. So if I'm working in here, bringing Richard down, setting him up, I'm coming straight down here. In Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, which is coming a little later, if I get him into a wrist lock, we attack the ulnar nerve here with a knife hand. So those are the techniques I'll be teaching you a little later on. They're a little more complex, but the knife hand is used in a multitude of ways, okay? These are your primary targets. If I'm standing here and he moves, I can move right there to hit him here and then come straight up. So any of these techniques blend into the other ones. What's most important is you don't get hit first, you make the first contact. And then you disorientate them, short circuit their mind process, and get the advantage. First thing we're going to work on is the jab. All you do is just stick out your hand and you twist it at the end. A jab is not a devastating technique, but it keeps people busy, keeps them off balance, and aggravates them. It's kind of like a mosquito or a gnat. It's swarming around. You have to swat at it. You have to deal with it, but it's not usually going to have knockout power. But the jab sets up every other technique. So your front side technique, like the jab, keeps him busy. When I jab, Richard will have to deal with it. He has to block or deal with it for me to set up a power shot. I have two different types of jabs, a speed jab, which is basically just to get him to deal with it. And then the thrusting jab, which I try to penetrate and drive right through his face, right through his nose. So a speed jab goes out and back quick. A thrusting jab extends all the way out. So it depends on what your intent is and how you want to use it. Now Richard, when I throw the jab, he's pretty much smacking it off. My jab is a speed jab. He's using a soft block. You can also double up on the jab. You can change directions. So your jab is very effortless to use, but very important to set up the next technique. Next technique is the cross. The cross, basically I move in and I bring my elbow up and I shoot it straight down the middle. So this is called a boxing cross. Elbow up, in. One thing I do want to tell you is when you're hitting with your hands, you're striking with your hands, but you're actually hitting with your legs and your hips. So everything I take right here, all the power is generated by twisting the hips, pushing forward with the back leg, and then the only thing it hits is my fist. My hands travel usually about no more than 4 to 6 inches. So you wouldn't go like this, it's this. The speed of your technique, the wrist action, the explosion at the end comes in the last 2 inches. So if Richard is here, all my movement from point A to point B, I have to relax. At point of impact, I explode. And I just barely tapped him with my fingers. But everything stays relaxed, snap, snap on the end. A good combination is your jab cross together. Straight in. You notice I'm punching with my hips. When I do my jab, my front hip twist. When I do my cross, my rear hip twist and my feet twist. So again, you're punching from down here. This is where your power comes from. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now Richard will throw his jab and cross with me. Jab, cross. And watch his feet. Jab, cross. Now more speed. More speed. More speed. More speed. One more. Very nice. So there you have the cross. Now we're going to work on the hook. Now the hook comes in basically off the cross. Once again, I tell you that you use your feet and your hip. You basically just pivot on your feet. Your hand travels very little. Your hand just travels 4 to 6 inches. So once again, you're punching with your hips and your legs. Now the hook can variate quite a bit. Your hand can kind of be vertical here. It kind of can be a little bit inverted, like an uppercut. It can come to the face. It can come to the ribs, or down here in the floating ribs, or behind here in the kidneys. So your hook's a very good weapon because it comes around their defense a lot. So what we're going to do is work this in here off the jab cross. You have your jab, your cross. Just pivot your feet, boom, and you snap it right on the end, and that gives you the shock. If I go up high with the jab and the cross, then his arms are up in here. I come back under with a body shot. So we're going to add that into your combination right there. Now if I'm throwing rapid fire combinations, the first 2 techniques are soft. The third technique I load up on and hit. It's not possible for you to have muscle tension on every technique, or you would be very slow. It's speed, speed, snap. So when you're throwing combination, the emphasis on your power is on your last technique. If I'm doing a cross hook, I would go fast and then powerful there. So my tension with my body, my muscle tension, my exhalation, my snap of the fist, my thrust of the hip is right at the point of impact. Now we're going to work on some uppercuts. You have your fighting stance. So far we have the jab and the cross and the hook. Keep in mind the hook can go body or face. The uppercut, you kind of drop down, and you use your hips and legs to lift. When you do that, you punch the stomach. You can punch the stomach. It's a very powerful technique because you're generating power from your hips and your legs, and your full body weight is going into that. If I'm in here working on Richard, I'm hitting here, I'm hitting up, and really banging. So if you have your body hooks and your uppercuts, you're really destroying this person's body here. You're taking the energy out, you're taking the air out, you're maybe destroying some of these organs in here to shut down this system a little later. So it's a nice combination. I'm up high with the jab cross, maybe down low with the hook over here by the kidney area or the floating ribs, then in tight with the uppercut. Before I taught you the distance and so forth, this is an ideal technique in the close range. Not contact, but close range, boom, 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 boom. And you're just working that out like that. So a nice drill to do is jab, cross, hook, double uppercut. Jab, cross, hook, double uppercut. Or flurry, and then come up. A flurry would mean rapid fire punches, and then come up. So I'm going to have Richard demonstrate that on the hand pads. Let's do that first. Drop down low and come up. Good. A little more relaxed. More speed with it. Bam, bam. That's it. Now, I'm going to work that in sequence. Start with a jab, cross, hook, right uppercut, left uppercut, right hand, boom, boot. I'm going to cover the spinning back fist. All right, one of our last boxing techniques, actually it's a kickboxing technique because it's illegal in boxing, is a spinning back fist. And you see it a lot in MMA, you see it a lot in kickboxing, we do it a lot in street fighting. But the spinning back fist is basically you step across and spin, and you bring your full body all the way around, swinging the back of your fist. So if Richard was here and I set it up, I could throw a kick or a jab, move in, and then all of a sudden, I don't even have to look. I know his head is there. I'm going to spin and try to take it off. The power from the spinning back fist comes from the speed of the spin. So you kind of have to be like a ballet person. You have to step across on the ball of the foot right here and then spin as quick as you can. Your shoulders will precede your body right there. So since I know he's there, I don't have to turn and see him. I can turn here. It'll connect. His only hope is to block or move inside it. But as soon as I spin here, he can blend in or he can cover. What you have to work on is the footwork. I have the three-quarter stance. I must pivot across. I usually set that up by throwing a hook. So if I'm trying to hit Richard with a spinning back fist, I'll set it up with a hook as a fake and let that be part of the 2-count combination. Right there. So there's no time between these two techniques. It's not one and then two, it's one. Because if I've done hooks before, like this, and kicks before, when I do this, he's still going to be there. So there you have the spinning back fist. Now I'm going to teach you what we call the overhand right. The overhand right basically is like a baseball pitcher throws a fastball or something. He comes this way, all the way over, and he brings it down. You'll also notice my hip action and my footwork. So in boxing, the overhand right is I drop down low, but I bring this hand up high and come over his guard and punch down. Now the punch will be delivered from up to down. This generates a lot more power, and in the fight game, a lot of times we'll take this person down. Instead of punching straight, when I punch straight, he goes back. But if I hit down, he tends to go down and drop. His knees will bend. So if Richard has a good guard up, and I'm out here boxing, and I'm moving, and I come in like this. I lunge with my body. He has to deal with this technique. He's going to bring this arm up. He's going to bring the shoulder up. He's going to deal with it. The good thing about this, if it doesn't connect, his body is totally open here for my body shot right there and my chin shot here. So I use that as a lot of times as a setup to get to the body. So we relax that in here. I move in aggressively. Then I'm in here. Then I'm in here. So when I hit here, this arm will come down because he's defending. Then I hit it on the fourth shot. So my good combination here is I lead off aggressively, quick, 1, 2, 3, boom, 4. Then you have possible knockout at that point. One more time. I just spring in there. 1, 2, 3, boom, 4. Right there is a good shot for a knockout. Okay, we're back. This time I'm going to be working on a switch step. Earlier in the video series, I intended to teach the switch step, but I delayed to teach it to a little bit later. Here's why. It's basically your front foot has not as much power as your rear leg because of range of motion. So in kickboxing or street fighting, you can be in close range, but if you switch your feet real quick and bring a knee or a kick, the front leg essentially becomes the rear leg, and you have the power. The biggest mistake people make is when they switch their feet, they switch their body. And you'll notice in my shoulders, my body doesn't move at all. It's just my feet. So I can be this close to Richard, even though I can kick here. When I do that switch step, I generate as much power as I do with the rear leg. So in this sequence, anytime that I switch my feet or move my feet, I generally cover it with a hand technique because I'm trying to disguise myself moving my feet. Because if I did this to Richard, he sees me coming a mile away, right? But if I do this with Richard, then he doesn't see me. I disguise my footwork with a hand technique. Does that make sense? So if you just go here like a machine or a robot, you're never going to be successful. Good. So in this sequence, I'm doing a switch step. I'm covering my footwork with a jab. Then I'm throwing this kick there, then stepping in with my power shot. What my intention is with my switch step front kick is to break his balance a little bit so I can hit him there and there. So looking at the camera, switch step jab, front push kick, punch, and punch. One more time with Richard. Switch step jab, front kick, punch, and punch. The next kick I'm going to work on is a cut kick. I call it the cut kick because your leg is going to be used like an axe. And our job is to cut his tree down. His front leg is a tree to me. So we call it a cut kick because we angle step and we chop away with our shin at his thigh and the nerves in the thigh until it paralyzes him. Now the cut kick is very instrumental because when you bring it in, you turn your hips and it drives straight into that nerve. And it sets you up right here for your shots to get in the back. So the rear leg cut kick, I'm spinning. I probably will set it up with a technique here, and then the momentum comes right here. When you get good at the cut kick and you're hitting the bag and pads, you can double up on it. There. The switch step front kick or switch step cut kick will be here. I switch my feet and I come on the inside of the leg. Same way. My left foot becomes my rear foot and then I kick in here and it sets me on the inside. I'll also use it as a sweep to get him off balance and knock him down. So you have two cut kicks, rear leg, switch step, or using the sweep knocking him down or getting him off balance. Now that you know the switch step, we're going to do that with a switch step inside cut kick to the inner thigh or groin if it's a street, and then follow up. So I'm in here. Once again, when I do my footwork, I throw a little baby jab out there. I also am stepping at a 45-degree angle to the right in case he has something for me. I'm off the firing line. You don't want to get hit. So I'm starting here, but I'm going towards here. Now I generate full power with this kick here. Then I'm coming in with my hook and my uppercut. Everything is set up with this fake and switch step. Power kick, shot, shot. If you want to follow up with that, you're in range for another rear leg cut kick. So this is a nice 5-count drill. Switch step jab, inside cut kick, hook, uppercut, power kick to the leg. And what I'm going to teach you is how to defend that devastating kick. Go slowly here, please. Right in here. I don't advise you to ever bend down to block a kick, because if the person has any training, he can bring that knee up and hit you right in the face. So what we have to do is learn to block with our legs. Now he's throwing it here. Good. There's 2 things I have to do, and it depends on my timing. When I see him move, I have to move up and jam it. You'll see I move inside the angle of the kick. I also have my elbow here so his leg won't slide up. So if I've seen him do that before, as he moves, I'm jamming here. And when I'm jamming, I'm hitting with that power shot. So if he's predictable and he's been doing that kick a few times, I see it, boom. His leg is in the air, I blocked, and he has no balance, so you're going to get a knockdown. As soon as he lifts that leg, you move forward, block jam, and hit him. He'll go right down. Okay, I'm going to be working on a few what we call street self-defense techniques, but it comes from kickboxing or street type of fighting, things that you can use in the street. You don't have to be a great athlete, you just have to have a little knowledge. Again, this is being taught in one of the more advanced videos, so you would have mastered all these other skills before you get to this, or should have at that point. Basically, one of the common things, and we covered that in other videos, a lot of times when we're in combat, we're in contact range, we're in close range, we're in this area. One thing that I use and my fighters use in the kickboxing ring and also in street fighting is when we're engaged, if my lead foot, I try to get my lead foot inside my opponent's foot here, where I've got him by the neck or shoulder, I do what we call an in-to-out hook. It's not a sweep because I'm actually kicking this leg enough to make him stretch out. And when he stretches out, he's totally off balance. At that point, I step back and I have my power shots to follow up with. But the thing that turns this around, if you can imagine yourself being pinned against the wall, or pinned against a door, or a car, and they're banging on you, and they're trying to hit. When I do this right here and kick that foot, his body is mine for that moment. So that one sweep, that one technique can turn this fight around. He's beaten, bound, boom, right there. Overhand right, double uppercut, another hook. We'll be a little bit more aggressive on that kick. One, right there. See how he went off balance? Now he's mine for the moment. Whatever you want to do. So in doubt, you look down. If the foot's out here, it's no good. It has to be inside so you can take it. If you'll focus in tight, my foot is curled and I create a hook. So when I hook, it doesn't slide off. I curl the toes and drag it. It's a nice technique. One more technique. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you have the clinch. As soon as we come off of our block and we have our stance and we stabilize him, we're coming with a shot to the neck. As I showed you a little bit earlier, once we shoot the neck, you come right back under and do the windpipe. So the right hand is going to do a quick 1, 2 to stun them. So I've engaged, we're in, 1, 2. Immediately I raise the chin up with my back of my hand and I grab him with the web hand to the trachea and the windpipe, creating a gagging effect. You see how he raised up on his toes. From that point here, you can drive a nice straight vertical punch, or you can do one of your trip takedowns, one of your judo techniques. We call that an outside minor sweep. So again, we're engaged. Warrior stance, chop, reverse chop, trachea hit, punch, takedown, and secure. Our next technique from a frontal attack, once Richard and I are engaged, basically we block, of course, we're in our stance, we engage, grab, we're neutralizing here. We did the head smack a little earlier. That's where you smack the head and you use the thumb to push the windpipe up to disorientate them a little bit. Then immediately I had you come off of that and strike the ears at the same time and gouge the eyes. At the same time you have his head cupped and you drive the knee. So what we want to do, you might be smaller, you might be weaker, whatever the situation is. As soon as they grab you, what's important is to hit the windpipe, hit the ears, gouge the eyes, and hit the groin, then get out of there if you have to. Nice and slow, grab quick. Block, hit, smack, gouge, cup, knee. What I want you to do is be able to complete that whole sequence in less than 3 seconds. So you're in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're out of there. You're attacking aggressively. Windpipe, ears, eyes, and groin. One of the most common techniques in a street fight is a side headlock. When people start wrestling and they're engaging, a lot of times people always get people, and this is called a side headlock. So Richard's going to get me in the side headlock. I'm going to show you some common defenses on how to get out of that. So he gets me in a side headlock. Basically what he's wanting to do is punch my face in. So the first thing I have to do is stop this. So of course your hand's going to come over and block, but what I'm trying to do is reach across the side from behind him and trap this hand in here. So your first job is, 1, try not to get this, you can get this hand in and pull it, but you got to stop this fist from coming in. So my first objective is to trap his left arm. Once I have that, then I can go to work here. I can strike his groin. As I do that, I can pull out just a little bit, come up with this hand and rip his face back, and then strike him with an elbow on the way down. So once again, he's got me in the side headlock. He's trying to punch my face. I have to block and trap his hand. I counter at this point. Striking, striking. I try to loosen this up. I come over with this hand, rip his face back, and hit him with an elbow going down. One last time. I keep this hand up here until I can trap it here. Then I go to work. Punching, ripping him back, and striking all the way to the ground. Now we're going to go into some of the chokes, standing chokes. We do have a set of chokes on the ground as well, and that'll come a little bit later. First thing I'm going to do with Richard is he shoots in. He can either be trying to come into a double leg takedown or trying to shoot just to get me down, single leg or whatever, or we can just be engaged. Basically leading into this front choke or the guillotine, I'm going to have you manipulate. So basically off of the techniques I've taught you so far, if we're engaged, say I shoot an elbow, it's a perfect way to come back and wrap to bring him in to this front choke. And right now I only have half of it locked out. So if you can see, I have my forearm just up on his windpipe. If I bring my hand here, he's patting my leg, he's getting pressure on the back of his neck and also his windpipe. So I don't have it fully locked in, it's about half locked in. So if you can see the technique coming in here, we're engaged, doesn't matter how we get into it. I try to get into it from wrapping and coming under. I'm pushing here. I basically do like a crank. So I have him in this front guillotine. Now to do a full lockout, I put this hand on and lock it in here and squeeze it. So that's what we call a front choke. If he was to shoot in, we were grappling, a lot of times we come up with this from there. And we actually go back and flip on top of him. So just basically, fundamentally speaking, if he shoots or I get him, here, I'm just trying to get him in this headlock. So if you can see him from this position here, my right arm's totally around, and I'm creating pressure. In and up. Getting it full locked out is here. I put my hand on his shoulder, and I lock. So basically, it's like this. Hit with an elbow, trap the neck, come around, and then place it here, and squeeze and bridge and crank. I do a little bit of variation with that because I do what we call a neck crank, where I lean way back on it. And get this, instead of getting this, I'm getting more over here on the front choke. Okay, in this sequence, we're going to defend against a guy who's a street fighter, throwing a vicious barrage of punches, just really haymakers coming. If you can't block every one of those punches. You're probably going to get hit. And if you get hit, you may go down. And it's hard to do. You can either back all the way up. The only place you don't want to be is on the end of the punches. If Richard's punches are coming here, then I don't want to be here. I need to be either outside, backing up, or I need to be inside, where he can't hit me except the back of my head. So in this drill, what we're going to do, we have the attitude of, look, we can take one punch, possibly, without going down or getting knocked out. So even if he's doing a barrage of punches, I'm going to duck in. My head's going to become a weapon because I'm going to hit him right there in the chest as I'm getting ready to get into a side control. So what we're doing is we're covering. We're taking some of these hits. We're smothering. We're slipping to the side and getting a side control to break his balance right here. No matter what he does in here, I let him off balance. So the first three things we do is cover, block a little bit, smother, get in tight, break his momentum, slip to the side, turn around a little bit here. You'll see I'm right on his hip bone. I'm just below the center of his gravity, and I'm breaking his balance towards me. Because if he's straight up, he's strong. But if he's offside, then I can take him down. Cover, smother, slip to the side. And here's my takedown. What I'm going to do, once I get him neutralized, he's maybe squirming, trying to hit me, he's wearing his stuff down. I'm going to take my left foot, and I'm going to sweep this leg through this way, turn him, and go into the ground with him. I'm going to then mount and be ready to do whatever I have to do from this position. One more time. Cover, smother, slip to the side, take down, mount, ground and pound if you have to. Off of a punch or grappling position, I'm coming up tight to the neck, which is one of the common things. I'm going to step in and trap. This is a little lower. You're going to notice my right foot is back on the outside of his foot. The next one will be, he moves in, and I'm going to hit, I'm going to bulldog him here. I'm grabbing him to the back of the neck. My palm heel is going this way. And I step back and take him to the ground. Put my knee on him, ready to hit him, or arm bar, or another submission. So what we're doing here against a punch or a grab is I'm twisting his neck. I'm stepping back and bulldogging him to the ground. One more time. You go get some punch. Get some punch. What's important, keep your fingers away from his teeth. And I have him controlled here. Have arm bars, have knee punches. Now we're going to work on the elbows. Elbows and knees go together. The elbows are really devastating as our knees. And you see that a lot today in MMA. All those fighters have been using the elbows and the knees exclusively to incapacitate people. So we have different angles and different names for the elbow strikes. So this is a cross elbow strike. It's like throwing a cross in boxing, except by using this, I'm using the part of the bone just below the elbow. So cross elbow. If I miss or I hit, coming back the other direction is called a reverse elbow. So I'm going cross, reverse, cross, reverse. In combat, we go 1, 2. Very devastating. These elbows are going horizontally. 1, 2. If I wanted to use a reverse elbow individually, if he throws a technique there and I come in, I can come straight in and just use it by itself. So any technique, throw again, can be used by itself. The next one's diagonal. If Richard and I are engaged and I get him down at an angle here, I hit down diagonally, straight down. Kind of like a boxer's punch with a diagonal shot. If he's over here, come in here. Instead of going straight, it comes down, down, down. So far we've got the cross, the reverse, the diagonal. The next one, we're in close, upward. From here I can go straight up, under the chin, straight. That'll make his teeth bite his tongue most of the time. And it's really a devastating technique. Most people don't expect it. Kind of like throwing a boxer's uppercut, but it's with your elbow. Your uppercuts when punching is about the same rate. So far we have the cross. We have the reverse. We have the diagonal. If I raise him up, I have the upward. If I swing him down, I have the downward elbow, where I bring his head down, and as hard as you can, come back to the base of the neck with that shot there. So if I wrap his head, right there, a downward elbow. So in review again, cross to the jaw, reverse to the jaw. Diagonal, diagonal, up, up, down, straight down. And we have some more. If I want to step into a reverse center, say if we're engaged, and I come in here and get sideways, I want to hit him with the elbow this way. So if I'm in a frontal attack, one in here. Then you can use your other techniques there. Or from here, straight in here, reverse elbow to the body and solar plex. From behind, let's just touch my shoulders. I can come over the top and hit him. Come over the top and hit him, but turning. I can move to the side, bring it straight up under the diaphragm into the solar plex. Reverse upward elbow. So when we grab from behind, turn, strike. Take your step, strike. In close, up. So in quick review, cross elbow 1, reverse elbow 2, diagonal 3, diagonal 3, downward 4, upward 5, reverse 6, reverse 6. You also can do it this way too, reverse upward. So your elbows are used a lot in this close range position. Out here, no good. You have to step into here. It's perfect range for these type of movements. If you're out here, can't do it. You have to be right in here, and that's perfect. And you learn that through experimentation and practice. So there you have all the elbow strikes. So The second technique, entering it the same way, if I don't want to step across, which is a little dangerous, I'm going to use the left foot. I'm going to kick back this way and push straight back with both of my hands. Once again, we're engaged. I close in tight. I hook here and then push him down. So I have two forces going opposite directions at the same time, here and here. Right there. Now I'm going to show you how to use your knees as a weapon. A lot of times, of course, knee techniques are close range positions. If we trap here, or we have here, we have the knees to work. What I call a straight knee is it comes from the floor straight up. What I've done here is I've hooked Richard's neck and I've bridged his neck so he can't jerk loose. He can't move back. I can hit him repeatedly with this knee strike. So that's called a straight knee. So one, if we strike, hit, and by doing a little what we call a two-step, you can continue to do as many knees as you have to. So generally the solar plex, the stomach area is not primarily target, the solar plex or the face is one of your primary targets here when bringing it up to the head. I also use a straight knee. Turn around this way a little bit, Richard. I use a straight knee straight into the thigh. They call that frogging in the fight game, where you come in with a knee and you strike this and you try to get them to lose the feeling in that nerve. So this is called a straight knee as well. You see what I'm doing? I'm pulling him in to my knees. An inside knee, if we're in a clinch, I come up and I come from the outside in and I'm raking his ribs right here, trying to get him to loosen his grip. So that's the inside knee. Little jump knee would be just jump up and bring his head down or his body. Now from here we're engaged again. I'm going to go into the standing triangle. So I'm going to slip to the side like I've showed you before. I'm going to give him a jolt to the carotid area here. And now I have him into a standing triangle. As I arch his back, I can take a sweep here if I want to, or if I just turn my body, he'll go to the ground. When we go to the ground, I then have a submission from here. Now we're going to be working on the rear to use. But basically, let's just get into the position first. So if Richard was here, go down on one knee if you will. Just the placement of the hands is what's important. Let's say I go around the neck. It's like a horse collar right here. Then I grab my own bicep here, and I can create compression with my bicep and forearm on his carotids and also on the windpipe. So on this particular choke, you're cutting off the air supply, you're cutting off the blood supply, which is quite dangerous. It sometimes takes 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. The person should be unconscious. So the rear naked choke, some people do it here. If you go into the full one, it's here, military style. You'll notice that I have my left hand on my bicep and shoulder. I have my right hand on his neck to push down on. I use my head as part of a frame. Now what I'm creating here is a frame. This goes around. I have to complete the frame with my head. Once I squeeze with my arms and push forward, immediately I get some reaction from him. So that's basically, then this also is just a trachea choke where we use it in law enforcement where you're just putting pressure on the air and you can let go immediately. A lot of times when you put somebody into the sleeper, they will start struggling because they don't want to go unconscious. So the more they struggle, the more the person that applies it struggles as well. And sometimes accidents happen with this. But it's a very dangerous but very effective technique taught by military and police. So getting into that full choke, I could use him like in a situation, I could spin him around this way. I have him in basically an arm bar across the neck first, then I can come up into the armbar choke or into the sleeper choke or rear naked. So also one of the things that we're doing here, right now my forearm is across his windpipe. He's not complying, so I come up to level 2, palms together with this one. If he's still not complying, I can go into this one, into the full naked choke.